This may sound like first world problems, but by golly, we like a coffee. How much is a reasonable price to pay for a flat white? $4, $5? That's outrageous, surely. Raglan Roast, a coffee company with 7 branches in Raglan, Nelson and Wellington, reckon the stuff in the cup, the coffee and the milk costs no more than $1 for them to make in total. That's all their costs. There are other costs to factor in, like dishwashing staff and rent, but that's still an 80% profit margin on the raw goods. So are we all being ripped off? You know it. I asked the founder, Tony Bruce, how much he charges for a cup of coffee.
For the last almost 2 decades, I've had a price point of $2.50 for black and $3 for white. And we predominantly served in the original days to locals, and then we started doing a few takeaways. We started charging more for the takeaways because the reality is it costs a lot of money to do a decent cup. Going down the PLA, like the plant-based bioplastics, made with renewable resources and no oil involved. If you combine that with a lid, then it's an expensive item, so we put a 50-cent charge on that. But otherwise, she's $2.50 and $3, and the loyalty thing, we thought that the card thing was hard to work with and messy. We thought that we'd just do like old school honesty box.
Write it in the book or whatever, and so you just trust people to tell the truth.
Just write it in the book, and most people are honest. It's a relationship you have with people over years. They turn up daily for their fix. Nobody's playing games with it. Out of thousands, you might get the odd one or two who takes the piss, but otherwise it's all good.
Okay, so if you're selling a white coffee for $3, what's your profit on that roughly?
Well, it comes down to models and all the expenses with making coffee, but we're pretty modest here in Raglan. We have a very low overhead. We figure that it's no way it's going to cost any more than $1 to put together, so $2.50 sounds good to me. It's a great profit margin, works well.
Okay, so if you're in downtown Christchurch or downtown Wellington or downtown Auckland, then your rents are obviously going to be much higher. But equally, if you're paying $4 or even $5 for a coffee in the main centres, you're being rorted, is what you're basically implicitly suggesting.
Well, what I'm saying is that their profit margin is either higher than mine, or their overheads are so significant that they have to do that to be in the game. It always amuses me when they cite rents as being a big major factor, but the reality is, in the hospo trade, from my experience, most people are going to pay more to have their dishes washed than they are to pay the landlord. People work for $16 an hour, $18 an hour in a kitchen, and if you're washing dishes all day, it's going to cost you $50,000 or something a year to have that done, and that's a very minor cost in being in the hospo trade.